Hello, hello, my brothers and sisters. This is Garrett Baker, your brother in arms, and welcome to another episode of The Tactical Businessman. Today's topic, your life has become a porn addiction. I want to share a story with you. When I was working as a police officer, one of the jobs, if you will, that I had was working undercover. And as an undercover detective, I did a few different things. Contrary to popular belief, we did actually buy drugs, illegal drugs, so cocaine, heroin, marijuana, meth, ecstasy, LSD, PCP, you name it, fentanyl, you name it, we bought it. Pills, prescription pills, like it was all out there for sale, and we bought it. I bought stolen weapons, I bought stolen cars, a lot of different things that I was involved in this space of being undercover. Now, the whole premise of being an undercover detective is that, well, you're not a cop. And so you have all these learned behaviors of a cop, right? The way you stand, the way you talk, the way you interact, all of these learned behaviors as a cop that you have to unlearn, that you have to somehow try and mask, that you have to become the ultimate pretender, if you will. And so a lot of it's centered around your ability to hide who it was that you really were. And it took a little while, but I was able to get really good at this. In fact, I worked undercover for 4 years, and I worked in the undercover space, supervising undercovers for another 2.5, 3 years. So about 7 years of my career I spent in this space. Now, the interesting thing about buying drugs, cars, guns, whatever it was, is that the people that I was interacting with sometimes knew, but sometimes didn't know. But after they were arrested, they all said, well, I had a feeling that you were. And I want to give you an example. So one of these times I'd come across an individual who was trying to sell large amounts of ecstasy. And so through text messages, we exchanged information back and forth. And finally, we agreed that I was going to buy 500 pills of ecstasy. Quite a bit, right? I think it was at $3 a pill or something like that. And our plan was to use other detectives who were in the area to intercept this man, i.e. arrest him after the drug transaction. So I show up in the parking lot. I've just got a regular old car. The guy shows up. He gets in my car, and as he gets in my car, I hear a loud thud against the door. So I know he's got a gun. So I'm playing the fact that I'm not a cop, but I am a cop, and now I know he's got a gun, which is very unsafe. So I ask him about it. I'm like, hey man, like, are you carrying right now? And he's, well, you never know, and this, that, and the other. And the reason I did that was, one, for my knowledge, but also I was wearing an audio monitoring device. So my cover team, i.e. the police officers who were in the lot to take care of me, would also know that he had a gun. Well, during our conversation, which was brief, he asked me, he's like, man, are you a cop? I'm like, no, man, I'm not a cop. He's like, because if you're a cop, you have to tell me. And I was like, well, no, actually, I don't have to tell you. But I didn't tell him that. So we complete the transaction, get out of the car. I start to drive away. And the idea was to pinch him with two vehicles, i.e. one vehicle will come from the front, one from the rear, and keep him from going anywhere. Well, it didn't quite work the way we wanted it to. He ends up getting out. By the way, we're in the front of a Walmart. There are drug transactions that happen in a Walmart parking lot. Yes, I know, shocking. So he ends up getting clipped by one of the cars, but manages to get away, speeding in front of the Walmart, probably like 50, 60 miles an hour. People jumping out of the way. He goes behind the Walmart. He jumps from the car. His partner jumps from the car. They're jumping walls and, trying to blend into businesses. Anyway, eventually they end up getting caught. And during the interview, he's like, well, I'm just doing this for a little bit of time. Like I just needed some extra money. And, he ends up getting charged and going to jail and all of those things. The reason I wanted to tell you this is not because of his side of things, but because of my side of things, right? At this point, I'd become what I would consider to be pretty damn good at being undercover. I had at one point grown my hair out and grown my beard out. Like, I looked just like a dirty, dirty guy. And so here I was, interestingly enough, at work pretending to be a bad guy when I was really a good guy. But I would take this pattern of pretending, of hiding, of masking who I really was home. And when I took it home, guess what? I was pretending to be a good guy when I was actually a bad guy. And during this time, I was dealing with my own internal demons, if you will. These struggles, these mechanisms that I was using to sedate the fact that I wasn't happy with the way that my life was working. Some of it included alcohol, right? My wife would ask me about alcohol and I'd be like, no, I don't drink. And then she'd ask me about drug use, prescription drug use. I'd be like, no, I don't use those. And then she asked me about porn. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I don't look at porn. And I would tell this to her with a straight face. Mind you, I was lying because I did have a porn addiction. Now, I wasn't looking at porn every day. I would go through like binges, for lack of a better term. I wouldn't look at porn for 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6 months sometimes, but then I would like binge for 3 or 4 days. And then I'd feel guilty and then I wouldn't do it, and this back and forth game, right? But my wife, being as smart and intuitive as she is, she quickly figured out the fact that yes, I was looking at porn. And every time she would confront me with it, I would deny it. And then she'd confront me with it, and then I deny it. We played this game, right? Or at least I thought it was a game. But for her, she was growing tired of it. And so you think about what pornography actually is. And I will preface this by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not any of these things. But what is porn? Or what is a porn addiction? And it's this thing, right? Some doctors refer to it as a substance abuse disorder. Some people refer to it as compulsion versus addiction. But the truth is, it functions in your mind the same way that alcohol, the same way that drugs do. Is it masks the truth. It masks the pain. It masks reality. See, because when I was watching porn, what would happen is I would pretend that I was with a woman because I wasn't with an actual woman. Why? Because my wife and I were always fighting. And it wasn't that we wouldn't have sex. It just wasn't really regular. Like, at the worst part of it, it was once every few weeks. Which, as a man, when you don't have sex, we talk about this being one of the men's basic needs. When you don't have sex, you start to get frustrated, you start to get annoyed, you start to get all these other things. So instead of dealing with the problem that I had, I would mask it, right, hide it, and I would go turn to pornography. Because pornography was my quote-unquote escape, right? I would tell myself that. Oh, well, if she's not going to give it to me, then I'm going to go find it somewhere else. So it wasn't like I was actually having sex, and sex, of course, is connection. What I was looking for was an escape from reality, a sedation. And that's what this pornography had become for me. And so, much like many of you today, whether you admit it or not, here's the crazy part. Depending on the study that you look at, anywhere from 50% to 80% of men look at porn. Think about that for a minute. The most trafficked websites on the internet, not ESPN, not CNN, Pornhub, PornTube, porn this, porn, like they're all porn. Now, why is that? Why is it that we as men have now decided that it's okay for us to mask, pretend, sedate away the fact that our lives aren't working? And I've thought about this for a long time, right? Why is it that even now, when things aren't going my way, why is it that my mind wants to go to pornography? Why is it that my mind wants to escape? Well, I want you to consider the fact that we as humans have a survival mechanism, right? And it's easier for us to run away from pain, to run away from conflict, to run away from the things that might, quote unquote, hurt us or that we perceive will hurt us than actually dealing with them. You think about this, in the Stone Age or way back, however you want to call it, when there's a wild animal that would come to try and attack the family, well, the family had two choices: to run and to hide and pretend that the animal wasn't there, or to confront the animal and eliminate that problem. And more often than not, more families would run and hide. And this is what my pattern was for so long. Is instead of dealing with the fact that my marriage wasn't working, that I wasn't having sex as often as I wanted to, I would rather turn to porn because it's easier. Why? Because the computer screen doesn't talk back to you. The woman on the video doesn't talk back to you. She's just a video. And so in our search for control in our lives, ultimately what we're doing is not controlling, but being controlled. I'm going to say that again. Ultimately in our search for control in our lives, we're not controlling, but we are being controlled. This is a very important thing for you to consider. Like, where in your life has it become a porn addiction? Where you'd rather sedate away the pain than confront it head on, than deal with it head on. And this is such a difficult thing to do, especially as men. Why? Because we like to portray that we're big, we're strong, we're capable, we don't have any chinks in our armor, we're perfect. Our children, they draw pictures of super dad with a cape. They tell other friends how awesome we are. And we don't want to let them down. When we go to church and we shake everybody's hands, they're like, wow, that family's so awesome. I wish I was like him. Or at work, you're the boss or you're the supervisor or you're whoever. And just so that you can make sure that you don't let people down, quote unquote, you start to build this false sense of who it is that you are. Much like I did when I was working undercover. I became damn good at pretending. I worked pretending that I was a bad guy when I was a good guy, and at home pretending that I was a good guy when I was a bad guy. Meanwhile, my life is falling apart. And so I want you to consider that the only time that your life is actually going to start to change is that you tell the truth. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself about the fact that your life isn't working. Stop lying to yourself about the fact that you're happy. Stop lying to yourself about the fact that you're having sex like you want to. Stop lying to yourself about the fact that your business is working. See, your inability to face the truth means that you're living your life like a porn addict. That you'll fake it instead of getting the real thing. You'll pretend that you have connection and intimacy in your marriage when in truth you have nothing. You'll pretend that you have a successful business when in truth you're taking out another loan. You pretend that your body is in shape when the fact is you can't make it up 2 flights of stairs without passing out. So we spend all this time pretending, sedating, hiding, losing control of our own lives. So the question I have for you is it time? Is it time for you to take back control of your life? And if it is, there's only one way to do that. Step number 1, tell the truth. Just quit lying. It seems so simple yet so difficult. And I had to go down this path too. Do you know how difficult it is to admit to your wife, yeah, by the way, all that stuff that you already knew, yeah, I've been addicted to pornography for a long time. But here's the crazy part. If you're listening and you're a man right now, the crazy part is your wife already knows, you jackass. She already knows. Your wives are so much smarter than you are. My wife's so much smarter than me. So if your wife is still with you, there's a reason she's still with you. Even with you pretending, she knows what you're capable of. She knows what your potential is. So it's time to start living up to that instead of pretending and hiding. It's time for your life to stop being like a porn addiction. Admit you got a problem and deal with it. Otherwise, your life will continue to suck. So, I challenge each of you to look at yourselves and say, where am I treating my life like a porn addiction right now? And it may just be porn. Like, that's one of the things that it was for me. Where am I living this double life? And where can you start to tell the truth? And start moving towards the life that it is that you want to live. All right. That is all I have for you today. Listen, you can go to GarrettBake.com. I got some stuff on there for you. Win the Daily War. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still working on that one, but it's coming together. But ultimately, I'm going to have some stuff deploying this week. Oh, yeah, this week or next week. But I'll share that with you as well. But listen, in the meantime, start taking these steps in your life that you need to take in order to create the life that you desire. All right, that's it for today. As always, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.